Check.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is the Free for All Friday. And I don't know if those pictures that were snapped of me are complimentary. Thank you, Mr. T, for all the great work you do. But yeah, those are really nice pictures. Folks, the picture of the world we have that's been painted for us is not a good one. Shit has hit the fan big time. Anyways, Mr. T's been working behind the scenes. Jolene is always busy working her tail off. We got Man with the big blue wrench. And guess what, folks? We've got trolls out there. And we need to let the trolls know that we can track you down. We can find you. We can make YouTube give up your names and who you are. That's right. And then we can come and get you. So just a little word of warning. If you're here, play nice.
Proceed with caution.
Okay, folks, welcome back. It is Free for All Friday, so we're going to mix it up. We're going to do some of my stuff, some of your stuff, some of my stuff, some of your stuff. So get your questions in. It could be about a topic, a place, an event, a person. It can be a statement. It can be a question. You get to pick, folks. That's the cool part about being on Patreon. Monday through Fridays, you get to pick, right? Now, I get to pick as well. I always get my monologue in, but Sunday night we'll be doing Sunday Night Live. Sunday Night Live, one of my favorite shows of the week. I hope everybody shows up. We're back on the Prepared Mind channel. We're going to be done with the BC channel. Today will be the last time we broadcast over there for the time being, and we'll just put it back into reserve channel status. But I want to thank everyone for supporting us through Patreon. Without that, folks, the show just couldn't go on. We got to have you there. We love having you there. And it's a lot of fun doing Monday through Friday Q&A. So let's get into it. Let's start with this. Earlier video, I talked about Biden and these knuckleheads just screwing the whole planet up. You know, pissing off Russia, starting a pissing match with Russia. And then he decided to go after Xi Jinping of China. Xi Biden did, right? And he warned Xi of consequences if China materially supports Russia. Really? You see, Biden is like grandpa or daddy. He gets to tell everyone else what to do, and everyone else in the world has to behave or there'll be consequences. I mean, what's he going to say? When Jill gets home, I'm going to tell on you. Really, what is Biden going to do? What authority does Biden have? And this is a scary question to ask. Does Biden actually have the authority to launch missiles, to start a war? Does Biden have that? Can he actually go and call Milli Vanilli, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and say, let's launch a couple of Tomahawks to teach them a lesson? Does he have that authority? If so, that's pretty scary coming from Dementia Joe. Anyways, right, the follow-up to this Biden threatening China is China responded. Xi Jinping warned Joe Biden against imposing, quote, sweeping and indiscriminate sanctions, right? During their call today, Friday, it was a lengthy call, right? China's leader, you know, he basically said, hey, your threat of retaliation, not a good thing. And then they both agreed, apparently, to keep talking. Let's just keep having talks. I'm sure that Xi Jinping and Gigi both said that. But how good is that for America, folks? How good is that for the world? We got big problems, right? The president Blinken, Jake the Snake out there threatening Putin. I mean, Biden literally calling Putin a thug and a murderous dictator. Right? I talked to someone, I can't remember who it was today, someone whose politics I didn't even know. And he's like, yeah, that was really, not good. One of the stupidest things ever is this basic potato head, right? Threatening Putin. And the guy actually, I believed was, very mild-mannered, regular human being down here. And he was very much adamant that you just don't mess with a nuclear power like Putin and call him names. And he said, yes, asking for trouble. Now, I like to ask for trouble. Let's do this. Let's get to one of your questions. Jolene, who do we have up first? If we have anyone, I recommend getting those questions in, because once the docket is full, it is full all the way. And it is Friday, folks. It's the Free for All Friday. Oh, maybe Jolene went to get a coffee. No, there she is. So yeah, get your questions in, folks. We're going to start with Craig. And he says, I say go to war, nuke it all, turn the planet to a sheet of glass. Let's get on, bitches. I'm tired of the BS. I'm tired of the BS too. You know what's funny is I'm kind of white. I don't know if anyone noticed. I'm kind of white. And when I go out in the sun, I get a sunburn. And it's funny for about 5 seconds. And then the constant burning sensation of a sunburn can become unbearable after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, trying to lay in a sunburn, right, in bed for an hour all night, just itching and feeling like you're getting pricked with pins and needles. And I'm like, yeah, it's just not fun. It's not cute being in the sun anymore when you're that white. I don't think we really have a grasp of what suffering is yet. Now, I do understand, Craig, though, that we're tired of the bullshit. As far as nuking it all, that's probably a little bit extreme, buddy. But I get the sentiment. We're tired of playing these games. Whatever it is you're going to do, let's get it on. Let's get it over with. Let's get it started. Enough of the bullshit, the big talk. But, I think that's really what these people are all about. There's a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of big talk. It's a bunch of threats. It's a bunch of huffing and puffing. And they're trying to scare Putin to go back into Russia so they can take over and continue their plundering of Ukrainian wealth and natural resources. But I hear you, though, Craig. I mean, but we've got to be careful. And again, we don't want to peeve off, right, the censors out there in the internet and big tech. If they detect that we're getting a little too rambunctious here, they might give us a strike or shut the channel down altogether. So let's be a little on the careful side. Anyways, right, here we are. Now, speaking of here we are, folks, retailers have determined that consumers have had enough. And they're saying there's a revolt. There's a revolt. The consumers, or rather the retailers out there, saying we see less demand as consumers pay higher prices, right? So you have only so much money. And as prices go up, you can only afford less. Well, that makes sense, right? It's a big duh. We can only buy as much as we have in spare cash, or also known as disposable income. You see, if this is your salary here, and your expenses, rent, car payments, gas, food, shoes for your kids go up to here, then you've got this difference right here. But if, let's see, food, rent, car, gas, shoes, if it goes higher, right, you're underwater. There's only so much you can buy because wages are not increasing as fast as the inflation. And inflation, folks, is always created. Inflation doesn't magically appear. Inflation is created by government action. That's right. Government and banks cause inflation. This is Joe Biden's fault. This is every president who has ever spent us into the hole, which is all of them, going back to, I don't know, Eisenhower, They all get a little piece of the blame. But certainly, folks, we did not have this out of control, rampant inflation before Joe Biden. I believe there was inflation there and a lot more than they were admitting to, but now it is nasty. And consumers are saying, that's it, we're done. And rightly so, because they don't seem to have the cash, right? None of us do. It's not like I've got $1,000 I can just throw around every month. And if that was the case, it'd be a whole different world for me, but it's not, right? Just gonna enjoy the bunker here with you guys. Now, earlier in the week, Russia showed up at the United Nations and said, hey, we have evidence that the United States government has been funding biolab research, weaponized microbes, etc., in Ukraine. We have evidence of it. Well, they've come back out again and said they have even more evidence of the alleged U.S. biolab research. More evidence, folks. Now, my thing is this. If the first accusations and evidence didn't count, weren't counted, weren't enough, does it matter if they supply a little more? Because we're not going to get any admissions by the United States government. We're not going to get any admissions by anybody. And I don't think that the United Nations is going to take any action against the United States. I don't know what power or authority they have, but certainly I don't think they're going to do anything. It is incredible to me, folks, though, that this is happening, that Russia appears to be the good guy in this situation, pointing to weapons of mass destruction. You remember how that was? Weapons of mass destruction, just a mere accusation. It wasn't the nature of the evidence. It was the seriousness of the charge. That's what got Saddam Hussein arrested and killed. Right? It's not the nature of the evidence. It's the seriousness of the charge. Remember that coming from the Clintons? And here we are, folks. Now the United States is being charged with something very serious. Quite interesting, right? And this is also another, shall we say, escalation on this free-for-all Friday. Slovakia used to be part of Czechoslovakia, which is when there was a Czech Republic and Slovakia were combined into one country after World War II. It became Czechoslovakia. Well, now they're separate again. Anyways, Slovakia wants to give S-300 missile systems to Ukraine. Now, the S-300 missile systems, folks, are Russian-made missile systems. Isn't that fascinating how Slovakia wants to give missiles made by Russia to use against Russians? Kind of interesting. Now, here's the deal. Russia is vowing to block the Ukraine military from getting these S-300 missiles. These S-300 missile systems, by the way, are extremely technical, accurate, effective. And Russia says, look, we're gonna, if you try transporting them in, and they know what they look like, they know what the missile systems look like, you try bringing them in here and we're going to blast the shit out of them, right? Targeting them, they said, is, quote, fair game. Fair game. Russia will block the transfer of these missiles because Russia knows what they're capable of if they get them. Now, here's the deal as far as I see. This is an escalation that's not going to end well. It's just not going to end well, folks. They keep wanting to start some war. If Putin says you give weapons, armament, and help to Ukraine, the government there, we're going to remember that, and there's going to be consequences. Now, unlike the loudmouth blabbering bullshit we get out of Washington, D.C., I actually believe that Putin is good for his word. I do. So if someone wants to give missiles over, I mean, look, if you're going to give S-300 missiles to Ukraine, why don't you just launch them yourselves from Slovakia? Launch your missiles all the way into Ukraine and hit some Russian targets. Well, see, Slovakia doesn't want to get in trouble, but I think just giving the missiles exposes them to the wrath and ire of the Russian Federation. This is incredible, folks. And remember, the CIA has been in Ukraine for years and years. Nice little article came out on this today. training the Azov battalion, which is literally a bunch of neo-Nazi racist types. It's pretty incredible how that's kind of grown up over there and even been supported since I think 2014. There's a lot of information coming out about this, folks. It's just not making it to the mainstream news, as if the standard average person could give a shit, comprehend, or come to a conclusion anything other than what they're going to be told. All right, it is now your turn on this Free for All Friday. What do you guys want to talk about? Get your questions into Jolene, and now we've got Latin American preparedness. He says Republican senators are questioning Ketanji Brown Jackson, the record in the confirmation hearings. So this Ketanji Brown Jackson, she's a Supreme Court nominee. She was a judge over some pedophilia cases with light sentences. And she could be confirmed in the Supreme Court. Folks, there's a lot of problems with these judges that we're seeing. It's like, how did you even become a federal judge with the type of thinking they have, right? You have to get through law school. You have to be an attorney, usually a prosecutor and other things. And then you get moved up. You can become a judge through election or appointment. But to get into the federal system, right, and have these kinds of views, very strange, I think, to have these kind of views that, pedophilia isn't to be punished very heavily. When it comes to this stuff, to me, it's incredible that she isn't embarrassed off the world stage. I wonder if they're going to vote for confirmation after this. Are they going to accept her answer? It's kind of like Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying 12-year-old girls should be able to choose if they, they can choose who they want to have sex with, like older men. Very strange stuff, folks. These people are weirdos. And they get to be the ones that make the real decisions about the law. I mean, if they can't determine right and wrong, morality and decency as a judge, what makes anyone think that they're going to do a better job as a Supreme Court nominee? Thank you very much, Latin American Preparedness, for letting us know what's going on with Ketanji Brown Jackson. Wow. Unbelievable. You could say it was a slow news day, or you could say it's been a very exciting news day. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? I don't see a whole lot of elevators or escalators going up. I don't see a whole lot of that. I see a lot of this sideways action, this continual sideways action, or down. Lots of this down stuff. It's almost heartbreaking to see what is going on, right? Oh, by the way, it's spring break in Florida. I wanted to let everyone know, if you're going to head out this weekend, head over to Florida, right? By the way, the spring breakers down in Florida, I've heard, have arrived, and there's no cerveza bug restrictions. Oh, good golly, folks. They're flocking to the beaches and no restrictions. Isn't this 2022? I mean, I think 2021, the beaches were open too, potato. Who cares, right? Florida doesn't seem to give a shit, and they're not having any problems. Have you noticed any real problems? Well, I've noticed a couple of problems. Dr. Doom, the little drip, he doesn't seem to want to go away. They're doing all they can to resuscitate the cerveza monster, right? China. China's amazing. They invented the anal swab to look for cerveza bug, because remember that whole thing about, well, it really gets into the intestines, and if you poop or fart, it gets out. So that's a good way to know. And so now they've been testing wastewater streams, right? Sewage in the United States. And the data is hinting at rising numbers of cerveza bug out there. I thought we were supposed to have the winter of death, the winter of doom, the winter. It was a dark, cold winter, right? Remember that? Remember that shit? We got to winter and they started relaxing restrictions. Even the mayor of New York, a little pile of junk he is, said, New York is so boring now. We need to open up schools and business and restaurants and bars because it's boring. It's like, well, I thought this was the world's craziest, evilest, deadliest disease. And we're just going to open up because it's boring. Otherwise, folks, we've been bored to frickin' tears if you're in lockdown. Anyways, they're testing poop water now and determining, it looks like there's a rise in cerveza bug. At the same time, right, Dr. Doom himself, he has some important words for us all. Important words. He says, quote, "We can't just say we're done." That's right, folks. The Booster Rooster warned that a new cerveza bug variant could prompt more lockdowns in the U.S. This guy, I guess he doesn't like the fact he's not getting the attention. So now he's just making shit up. The other day he said, well, we may have to lock people down and impose restrictions again just to prevent something else from happening. In other words, do you duct tape your children to the kitchen chairs? Because if you let them outside, they're going to get scrapes and bumps and bruises and cuts. They're going to get all dirty and filthy. So it's best to duct tape your kids to the kitchen chairs. Well, that's what Fauci wants us to do. He wants to lock us all down and mask us all up. Not to mention, he wants to Jim Jones juice us just in case something comes along, just in case a new variant emerges. It's the same old story. Tyrants love power. Tyrants don't want to give up power. Tyrants are assholes. No one likes them. Tyrants don't care that nobody likes them. All right, let's move on if we can. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. It is Free for All Friday here on the Prepared Mind channel. And we've got Sally Sue. And she says, I feel like we, as a country, are completely brainwashed or maybe gaslighted. Each country has their own version of this and their own version of what the true reality is. Ultimately, we'll never know what the truth is, and we can't change what the powers that be are doing. What is the answer? I'm tempted to drop out completely and just keep myself to myself to avoid all the mind games. Well, have you ever been really tired? You've been like, just working and working, so exhausted, and you sit down on the couch and you just pass out, and you wake up and your family is all sitting around you, they're all laughing their butts off, and you're like, what I miss? My recommendation is that you don't drop out, because if you drop out, it's like passing out. You close your eyes, you're oblivious to what's going on around you. And then something bad happens, you're going to wonder what happened, who did it, what are the consequences, what's coming, etc. This is what most people are doing, is they're pretending they don't see the stories. They're pretending to believe the lies. They know that politicians are full of shit, folks. People know that war is a racket that defense contractors make millions and billions of dollars on. They know. They just don't want to face it. They want to pretend like they're sleeping. Now, that's why I say don't go to sleep. Right? Remember the whole take the red pill and wake up? We are being brainwashed. There's a percentage of people that are being brainwashed, right? They believe in everything they're told and they don't understand anything, any other perspective. And then there's gaslighting, which is someone standing right in front of you, to your face, lying to you continuously. Right? Gaslighting you is the term for that. And after a while, you begin to doubt yourself because they're so adamant that they're telling you a truth or a fact. They're so adamant that they're not lying, and that you, if you believe anything different, you're the liar, and that you are crazy, or you are ignorant, or you are stupid, or all of the above. That's what gaslighting is, and it's extremely abusive in the world of psychology. And what we're involved in, folks, is a psychological war, or a psyop. The United States government, and indeed any government, can lie to the people in the United States of America. They can just lie to us. They can use propaganda is a really nice term for lying and gaslighting us. We're attempting to brainwash and indoctrinate us. Look what's happening with the youth. How many youth out there really know what's going on? They're coming out of government schools, which have a Marxist bent to them, not to mention a disillusioned, strange, right, hypersexual view of the world. And they're all so weak and weak-minded that they get triggered and need a safe space. And I'd like you to think about this right here. Right? When you see one of these millennial types or these centennial types, and they're very soft, right? Don't say anything that would upset me, right? Check your privilege. Stop it. Stop it. Right? They want to shame you and stop you from doing what? From causing them to use their brain, right? When you use facts, information, logical, critical thinking, it causes them pain. It literally causes them to hurt in their heads. It's hurt because they've believed a lie. And to hear any alternative to it, right, causes them to think. You say, well, wait a minute, Putin had an actual peace agreement. Russia had a peace agreement with Ukraine, and Ukraine has failed continuously for nearly a decade to live up to this agreement. People hear that, they're like, I don't want to hear that. Russia, Putin bad, right? That's what they want to think, is that the media is telling them what they need to hear, and it's true, and that the president is telling them what they need to know, and it's true, right? And then so they see high gas prices. That's Putin's fault, because that's what the media says, and that's what Jen Psaki says. And it doesn't compute, because we had high gas prices going into this year before the whole Putin mess. Right? Biden's gas prices have been going up. They just got a lot worse once he, got Russia to cut off oil to the West. So you say, who's really to blame for this? Right? And if you bring up a few facts, it hurts them and they get very upset. They get triggered. Right? Gaslighting or lying to someone's face, right? It weakens them and it weakens their mind. So if you tune out, I hope you can tune out for the next 20 years. If you tune out when you wake up, you're going to wonder what you missed. And it's not going to be easy to catch up. I mean, you can come up to the moment and go, oh, here we are. But how did we get to that point? You're going to have a hard time with. Right? There is so much going on right now. But it is frustrating, no doubt. It is absolutely frustrating to know that people are being lied to, and they just can't seem to get it. I mean, Jen Psaki will stand at that microphone all day long and just lie and keep telling the lie. The illogic coming out of the government is incredible. You're welcome, Sally Sue. She says, thank you, John. I need a pep talk every now and then. You betcha. Yeah. Right. We had Pete Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg, that guy. I believe he's the transportation secretary. He stood in front of America and the world and gaslighted the shit out of us. And he said some incredible things that make absolutely no sense. But if you question them, right, if you want to believe the Biden regime, you want to believe the government, you want to be a brainwashed idiot, he says, if you can't afford gas, you need to buy an electric vehicle. If you can afford a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 electric vehicle, gasoline is not a problem for you. Buying a few gallons every day or every other day or every week. It's just like, if you think about it, it's like, well, if I had $50,000 buying $20 or $30 in gas, it's not a problem. So then he corrected that and he came out and said, people need to take public transportation. That's right, folks. When you live in the world of dumbasses like Pete Buttigieg, you kind of lose this whole grasp on reality. Public transportation, I guess that's a wonderful thing. The bus, the train, it still costs money. And it's not very convenient. It's not easy. And for a lot of people, it's not available. They still live in this fantasy world where there's a monorail everywhere. Everyone get on that monorail. It's going to save the world. Get on that bus system. Do you think if the buses are going to use, I don't know, the same amount of fuel and the fuel is going up, it's doubled? What do you think that's going to do to bus fares? Well, everyone splits it up, John. That's right. Everyone splits the fare by riding the bus. Well, how about this? There's a lot more weight on the buses. The bus is stopping more often. The bus is stopping and waiting for more people to get on and more people to get off. And it's just going to burn more fuel, which is going to cost more money, which is going to raise rates even more. So the more people that use public transportation, you might make the argument that it's going to increase the costs. But rather, probably the biggest effect is going to be the Biden effect, that Biden is causing fuel prices to skyrocket. And it's not just for diesel, it's for gas, it's for compressed natural gas, CNG engines, which a lot of buses and a lot of cities have because they're clean burning, right? Clean burning. I love that notion. Clean burning. Have you stopped to think that regardless of whether you're burning diesel or compressed natural gas, it takes the same amount of energy to drive the piston down and up and down, this piston up and down thing, to produce the horsepower, to spin the transmission that spins the tires, right? That it takes the same amount of energy. So this whole clean emissions thing, right? Well, if it's going to put out the same number of hydrocarbons, it's just, diesel is kind of dirty, so dirty because you can see the smoke. They're longer chain hydrocarbons that are being emitted, but you're still got a lot of carbon output. Like, for example, natural gas power plants put out 40% of what coal does. And coal is dirty, but, well, natural gas, folks, puts out an awful lot of carbon. So this whole idea that we're going to save the world, that it's going to cost less, and it's just another fantasy. They pushed, by the way, if you remember, if you're old like me, you're going to remember that in the 1970s, during the fuel crisis, the fuel problems, during the slow economic times, because there was another failure of a Democrat. His name was President Jimmy Carter. They tried conserving their way. They said, hey, only driving 55. The federal speed limit on everything everywhere is now 55. It's mandated. They mandated that. They pushed public transportation. They did all they could in order to make it seem less difficult. But it was bad times, folks, and we're heading into far, far worse. Back then, there wasn't a problem getting car parts. There was only a fuel crisis for a little while, but, it was solved by OPEC. They said, yeah, we got all the oil and gas you need. You're just going to pay a lot more for it. This time around, they're saying, we don't have all the gas and oil you need, and you're going to pay through the nose for it. So we're probably going to get shortages increasing into the future, but we don't need that pipeline. Good golly, we've already been going for half an hour plus. It's past 4:30. Can you believe it? Folks, it is Free for All Friday. I want you to have a great weekend. I would like to have a few hours to rest my brain. Maybe I'll go kayaking or paddleboarding. Maybe I'll go skydiving with Smurfs. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's probably going to be fun. I need to do something just to get the brain away, but I can't check out. We got to stay current. We got to stay up with what's going on, folks. It's going to be critical for ourselves, for our family, for loved ones. You have to stay connected to this. You don't have to. You can do what you want. I just don't recommend tuning out, because at some point you're going to wake up. Either your butt's going to hurt, or your stomach is going to hurt, or you're going to be cold, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be tired. You might even be overheated. And you're going to think, wait a minute, I was a prepper once and I checked out. And look at me now. Anyways, folks, let's keep going. What is it you want to talk about? I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, but we're going to go to Jolene has a question from Bull 38583. He says, should we be supporting Republicans that are calling on sending troops on the ground to Ukraine? I don't like to give marching orders, Bull. I like to tell you and everyone else, call, write, text, fax, smoke signal, carrier pigeon, your congressmen, senators, state and federal, governors, etc., and give them your opinion. Tell them you want freedom and liberty. That's one of the things I will say is we want freedom and liberty, all of us. But when it comes to supporting ground troops in Ukraine, yeah, I would be calling Republicans and saying, you're for that? What's your evidence? You know, what's going on over there? And I haven't got a satisfactory answer out of hardly any of these people who are either up and coming candidates or incumbents. You know, they want to talk tough. They want to sound like they're knowledgeable. I really believe these jackasses in DC are just puppets for the most part. You know, Republicans that are calling on sending troops into Ukraine, why? You know, what is the benefit? We keep hearing it's to kick Putin out. Why are we kicking Putin out? I mean, it's a fair question. Well, Putin shouldn't be there. Well, okay. Why is Putin in Russia? Has anyone in Washington, D.C. stopped and asked that question? Why did Putin go in? Why did Putin go in? It's a fair question. Why did he go in? What was his justification? We didn't hear anything from the media on his justification, just that he's threatening to go in. He's going to go in any day now. He's going to invade anytime now, anytime, for weeks and weeks and weeks, while they antagonized the shit out of him and threatened him with NATO expansion into Ukraine. They finally crossed the line and he engaged, right? But they don't talk about why Putin is in Ukraine. Is it justified? Is it necessary? Well, to save democracy, folks, the rest of the world invaded Afghanistan and Iraq. They liberated the Lebanese or Libyans by killing Muammar Gaddafi, but actually they just kind of took over the oil fields in Libya, folks. They tried getting rid of Bashar al-Assad, president of Syria. They tried getting rid of him. They wanted to, folks. They said, oh, the people are unhappy. And then they said, oh, he's killing his own people. They're using chemical weapons. They're using biological weapons on his own people. We must go in there and liberate the people. It's always, we should liberate the people from the bad leaders, unless it's Putin saying he's going to liberate a country from the bad leaders, right? So Europe and the United States wanted into Libya, so we had to get rid of the bad leader. Europe and the United States wanted to get into Syria, so we had to get rid of the bad leader. And same with Iraq and same with Afghanistan. But in this case, in Ukraine, the United States and Europe are very happy with the leader of Ukraine. I wonder why Hunter Biden making billion-dollar deals, the big man getting his 10%. I wonder why, right? Isn't that just strange? So, yeah, why did Putin go in? Because he wasn't happy with what was being done. They had a peace treaty, an accord, a ceasefire. It's like, what? How can you have a ceasefire unless there was a time formerly where there wasn't a ceasefire and people were getting shot in the streets? That's right, folks. It was just a few years ago, right? Ukraine, folks, does have some serious problems internally. They were supposed to fix them. Zelensky has not. American firms and other corporations are in there doing lots of business, folks, gobbling up Ukraine resources and wealth. But Putin is there to liberate Ukraine from extremist groups that are controlling it. Isn't that odd? You know, to me, I find it very odd that we're supposed to be liberating people. Instead, they're saying Putin is an aggressive, murderous thug dictator. That's what he is, and that's why he's there. And so he's threatening democratic institutions. I don't see a whole lot of democracy in Ukraine. In fact, George Soros thinks we should go in there too. George Soros says our civilization is threatened by Putin. What civilization is that? That is so precious that George Soros is sticking up for it. Very crazy stuff, folks. And we really need to be careful. As far as Republicans that need to be supported, they better be supporting liberty and freedom, our Constitution first, before they get to Washington and decide that they're going to send American boys and girls to another country to fight a war on the behalf of these globalists who really aren't into democracy, folks. They're into lining their pockets, making themselves wealthy. That's my concern. All right, we got Tom R. checking in. He says a statement. He says, did you guys see that Zelensky quietly signed into law today social credit application, universal basic income, digital ID, and vaccine passport? And he's a hero? Yeah, that sounds fascinating. I really love the idea of the passport. Get your Jim Jones Juice passport or you don't get to do nothing. Get your government digital ID. Oh, universal basic income, UBI, government welfare. Where is Zelensky getting money to give to his people in the form of UBI? It looks like and sounds like the Ukraine under this system, also using social credit scores, it sounds to me like they are a test bed for the next phase of the Great Reset and the globalization of all government. That is, the globalist dictators, these technocrats, these technocratic oligarchs who are different than the Russian oligarchs, only in name. These oligarchs, right? They want to run the world and they want to do a test. Can they run a country with this system? UBI, social credit scores, passports and IDs. Can they run that system while it's in a state of chaos and war? If they can, then they can run that system anywhere, even, say, the United States. Woo, very good, Tom. Now, meanwhile, Putin was in Russia. He went to a giant athletic stadium, I don't know, a soccer stadium, and he had a huge Trump-sized crowd, massive crowds, massive enthusiastic crowds, folks. He was in this Moscow stadium, and he praised troops in Ukraine doing what they're doing, trying to get rid of the Nazis. I thought Nazis were bad. Why is the CIA training Nazi factions and white supremacist factions in Ukraine? Because they're there, and that's a powerful force they have to oppose, Russia. They've been training them, equipping them for years now. Anyways, Putin is in a giant stadium. Who else do we know in politics that can fill a super stadium to the brim with cheering, enthusiastic patrons? That'd be President Trump, right? But this is Putin in Moscow filling super stadiums, folks. And the crowds chanted, Russia, Russia, Russia. Kind of like how I guess our crowds chant USA, USA, USA. I'm sure they didn't say Russia the way I did. I'm sure they have their own way to say Russia, like Ruski, But here we are, folks. Is this make Russia great again? In other words, Putin, folks, is very much supported, very much liked, and they like what they're doing. We were told and led to believe days and days ago, if you recall, that the people of Russia are revolting, that they're protesting, and that Putin is putting them down, and he's arresting them, and he's beating them, and he's a bad guy, and he's a murderous thug, and he's a dictator. Well, it certainly appears that, from what we can see, that people support him. Now, Potato Head Joe, when he was campaigning to be president, he was the most popularly elected president ever. More votes than even Barack Obama, the most charismatic dimwit the planet has ever seen. And Biden couldn't fill a high school football field with tables that have a 6-foot ring around them. He couldn't do any of that. Nobody. So we're supposed to believe that Biden has support, that he's correct and brilliant, and that Putin, who has a soccer stadium filled to the brim with cheering people, he is unloved. And wow, strange stuff, folks. We got Mark the Prepared Klingon. He says, question, when will this war stop? When will the Nazi be stopped demonstrating in Ukraine? I don't blame Putin. Oh, here we go, Mark. When will the war stop? War stops when one side or the other gives in. So if we're talking about the particular conflict in Ukraine, I mean, I stated the obvious. Thanks, Captain Obvious John. Yeah. One side or the other loses the heart or the will to fight. Either you kill enough of them or they've suffered enough that they give up, right? So all war has a psychological element to it. You know, how long are the people willing to fight rather than surrender and hope for better terms? The people of Ukraine are not doing good, right? They're not doing well. The leader of Ukraine, the puppet government leader, Zelensky, has been begging from the world that, you know, he be protected and that someone come and fight his fight for him. Remember, this is Zelensky's fight. This is the Ukraine government versus the Russian government. And what Zelensky was doing and continues to do is try to get NATO or the United States to fight for him. Right? They don't have the will to fight. They don't have the troops to fight. They don't have the money to fight. So you want this war to end, right? When will it end? When countries like the United States, NATO, stop supporting Zelensky. One of the ways I think we can help this happen is by continuing to speak about facts, or at least sharing our opinions, right? I don't think Ukraine can stand on its own legs without the support of other countries, right? We should take that support away and have Zelensky removed and put a government in there that is both competent and loyal to its own people, instead of using its own people as propaganda and puppet pieces. You know, stop putting your supermodels out there in tactical clothing with weapons, trying to look cute. You know, stop trying to sell the world on the story and the lies. But the whole world seems to be going down this path, which is very sad. Very sad. We got Jezariah. He says, John, the International Energy Agency has a list of proposals for governments to reduce global oil consumption, one of which is car-free Sundays. Will they use the energy crisis to further lock us down? It's quite interesting, is it not? Yeah, I saw this also, Jezariah, the car-free Sundays. It's right up there with Drive 55 to save gas, and then they turned it into 55 save lives. Once again, we'll do anything to save a life. If we can just save one life, we'll kill 100, because, you know, that's how their math actually works out. Still, yeah, they would love to use this energy crisis and combine it with the cerveza bug madness, combine it with the war propaganda, and put it all together, right? Well, you know, we shouldn't be going out anyway because of cerveza bug. So let's try car-free Sundays to save gas because of our ongoing war with Russia. The fact that Russia came in and stopped the Keystone Pipeline. And Russia told Venezuela not to sell us oil. And Russia told the Saudis to stop selling us oil. It's all Russia, Russia, Russia. If you read George Orwell's 1984, you kind of get a sense, or you can watch the movie if you wish, but, you know, it's an old story, but it's the entire nation, every person, the whole culture was so controlled and manipulated through propaganda and being told what to believe 24/7, told what to do 24/7, that they actually come to rely on it. And the government takes away not only folks their ability to speak freely, but takes words out of the vocabulary. They quit using words so that people forget what those words were and the meanings behind them. so that they became very basic, very ignorant. So why is it that they're not teaching kids in school anymore? They want them to have a very limited vocabulary, right? You juxtapose that to a culture that is well educated, understands the value of a really good education and the practical application of an intelligent mind. You compare that to a dumbed down people that have a very poor language, a very poor grasp of math, and you have a very controllable population. Scary stuff. Thank you, Jez Oriah. It has been a long week, folks. It's been a long week indeed. We've started the week out and throughout the week talked about coming food shortages, and almost 1 million egg-laying chickens in the state of Iowa, and 2.75 million chickens in Wisconsin are to be killed because, the deadly bird flu is spreading across the country. That is that's 3.75 million birds that are going to be, culled, killed, removed. What do you think that's going to do to food availability and food prices? Less eggs and less chicken, right? It's quietly coming, folks. Food shortages and food rationing. Aren't you glad that we talk daily about this so you're not surprised, right? You don't want to be that person, right, that wakes up on the couch and goes, what I miss? It's like nothing. Same as it was 10 minutes ago. You didn't miss nothing. You've been asleep for years. You didn't miss nothing. Why don't you go down to the store, right? Can you imagine coming from, say, 1971, right? Gas was very cheap, right? And then they went forward, what was gas? It was like 25 cents a gallon. It went up, well over $1. Crazy stuff. Then it dropped back down. It's you just can't imagine waking up, right, and being shocked by this. But people are doing it all the time now. They're waking up. They're getting red pilled. They're not liking what they're seeing and hearing, and they certainly don't like how light their wallets are now. Harder times are coming, folks. We're just beginning to see the start of what they're doing. Oh, by the way, how do you like bugs for dinner? How do you like bugs for dinner? I think that is coming. They want us to eat bugs, folks, right? The globalist idiots, they want us to eat bugs. They want protein taken out of our diet. They want to have us bug protein, soy protein, right? 8 billion people on this planet, folks, and they don't like the fact that we're all here. All right, we got Blake, and he says, fertilizer for my hay field is $80,000 this year, $80,000. It was $24,000 last year. That's just for feeding cows. Imagine what row croppers got to come up with this year. It's coming way sooner than people realize. Okay, so Blake is a real agricultural specialist. He's an expert, folks. You know why I know that? Because that's his job. When you do something day in, day out, day in, day out, and you do it year after year after year, you become an expert. You can become an expert changing oil. You can become an expert at mowing the lawn. You can become an expert, folks, very easily. I got some kind of high pro glow going on here. The internet is doing some strange stuff. All right. So yeah, Blake is an expert. So last year, $24,000. This year he's paying $80,000. That's over a 300% increase. 300%. It's tripled and then some. That is an incredible increase. Now, where does that money come from? Well, first it has to come out of Blake's pocket, or a bank has to loan it to him. So he borrows all that money, prepares the fields, right? He levels them, runs the laser, plants the crop. Now, hay is a flat crop. Row crops is like, tomatoes, carrots, whatever, rows. Flat crop is wheat, hay, rice, except rice. Anyways, there's a lot of preparatory work going into this. Fuel, fertilizer, seed, time and labor. And then, so what's the price of hay going to be? I remember years ago when I was buying hay for my horses, it was like, $3 a bale. And then it went up to 8 and 12, 15. I don't have any clue what it is anymore because I don't have any more horses, thankfully. Those hay burners, they cost a lot. But, if fertilizer goes up triple, what does that do to the hay price? You don't triple the price of the hay, but, that fertilizer cost has to be amortized throughout every bale or every ton, if you will. It's got to be paid for by someone, and ultimately it comes down to us. Now he's growing, feeding cows this hay, so he's growing cow hay. Look out. So the cost of milk, the cost of beef, the cost of everything goes up. Where do we go, folks? What do we do? It has really hit the fan. We got Chester Wolf the Griffin checking in. He says a base model Tesla anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000. A 4-year waiting list. Also, we can only be charged at Wawa if you live on the East Coast or buy a wall charger for $1,500 installation. You can only be charged. You can only charge your Tesla at Wawa. Well, there's other places you can charge your vehicles. I've looked into this. In fact, when I ran the large entertainment hospitality destination venue back in California, we put in electric car chargers for people with Teslas or whatever, whoever showed up with electric cars. And they were really underused because we were out in the middle of extreme Northern California, a long way from anywhere. But yeah, you can get charged at hotels. Some public venues have them. They're putting them in, but they are hard to find. But as far as how long it takes, with a car charger, it can take literally, just a 110 volt plug-in. It can take days to charge your car, fully charge it, so you can go another 200 or 250 miles. And if you have the 220 volt, 30, 40, 50 amp, still going to take you anywhere from 6 to 8 hours to fully charge a car. Are you going to sit at a Wawa for 6 to 8 hours? Crazy stuff, right? We got Rocker from Down Under says 95% in Oz took the Jim Jones juice boost. And Rocker from Down Under is in Australia, folks. And Oz is Australia. So 95% of the people in Australia have taken the Jim Jones juice and the boost. He says, is there any hope for Australia, the Aussies, or have they all bent over and took the Jim Jones fist? Well, I have a funny feeling that Jim Jones put a hand on each shoulder as he bent everyone over, and they still felt it. I won't do it, folks. There's nothing that can be offered to me that would allow me to want to put that crap in my body. A sunburn, folks. I don't want a sunburn. It hurts. I know it's eventually going to stop in a day or two, but being sick or unhealthy or in a state of discomfort really sucks. So I can't imagine taking the Jim Jones juice and having one of the dozens and dozens of negative side effects that range anywhere from temporary to permanent to deadly. I mean, I don't want to spend the rest of my life sick and feeling like shit, or trembling, or having lost function of my hands or my limbs, gone blind, any of the things that happen. It's just, you're out of your fucking minds. I feel very bad for the people of Australia. I believe that they were screwed over by their government. And it was, in fact, their system of government that allowed that to happen. And basically, the good nature of the people doing as they're told. Here in America, they really have decided that they would rather fight. Many people are like, no, we'd rather fight. And it's coming. That part is coming if they want to try pushing that shit again. Clifton Herring says, I've been watching you since you were still married and speaking softly, and I will continue to. All I have to say is fuck them all and let God sort them out. Let's get ready to rumble. That's what prepping is. Get ready to rumble. Now, for you, rumbling may be just standing out on the street, letting everyone view your favorite pew, right? They may just see that, and you may live in a city where the people just take care of things themselves. Or you could live in a city, folks, that is a burning, smoldering wreck. I don't know. I don't really know exactly what's going to happen, but I do know that you are ready to rumble when you're a prepper. When you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, when you have that all together, rumble or not, you're ready, right? Good, bad, and different, somewhere in between, or Mad Max, you are as ready as can be. And I've got to get my internet fixed. This fuzzy thing, it's just strange. We got a light over here, and it's been kind of silly. Anyways, chance favors the prepared mind, does it not? Are you glad you're prepared, or what? Don't give up. Don't quit. There's going to be some trouble, folks. But remember, you're out in front as a thought leader, as someone who is a free thinker, who wants to gather all the information. If you're standing behind someone, all you're looking at is the back of their head, right? And so most people are just staring at the back of other people's heads and then asking them, right? They got the mainstream media right in front of them. And they're like, tell us what's happening because we can't see. So the mainstream media gives them lies. I say, get the mainstream media out of your way and look with your own eyes, listen with your own ears, and come to your own conclusions. And then you have a better idea why you're getting ready and how to do it. Godspeed to all, Semper Fi, and chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll talk to you guys on Sunday. I'll see you then at Sunday Night Live. I'll be sure and send out invites so everyone knows it's coming, folks, and it's going to be a massive week next week. Thought this week was bad. I think they've got some really violent designs for us coming. Just a little prediction. Just a couple little birdies talked to me and said, look out. It's going to have to get nasty because Putin is not backing down. You guys be cool, be safe, be prepared.